Let's start with the news that was gifted to us from the content lords, as it were, with 2024 quarterback Dylan Raiola committing to Ohio State. Now, I was going to lead this show with the longest odds bit because we're in peak offseason mode, but then we had some real for real news coming out of Columbus with the top quarterback in the 2024 class, that is Dylan Raiola, committing to Ohio State. So I want to get into that. First, what the heck is going on in Columbus in that Ryan Day in particular, but Corey Dennis really shares some of this, but they've been recruiting their behinds off more or less since Ryan Day got to Ohio State. And the way that I kind of want to go at this is just by mentioning the quarterbacks that have played for Ryan Day, not the ones that he's just recruited and signed. So start with this. He makes the decision to tap Dwayne Haskins to be the starter in 2018, which led to Joe Burrow going into the transfer portal coming out at LSU. What I find to be most wild about this, and really a feather for Ohio State, is that nobody in Columbus is mad. That is how good Dwayne Haskins was in 2018. Add to that, Joe was coming off of a broken hand, didn't really know what you were going to do. The kind of offense that he was being recruited to run was the one that Urban Meyer was first running when he got to Columbus. Ryan Day obviously wanted to open up the aerial attack and has turned Ohio State into one that bombs folks as opposed to runs over folks, which has been Ohio State's DNA basically since the 19th century. That's number one. Number two here is that he had Justin Fields transfer in from Georgia and developed him into a Heisman finalist and a first-round quarterback. I want to hit that first-round quarterback one really hard here because every quarterback that has started more than one game for Ryan Day has ended up a first-round draft pick, right? The reason I say more than one game is because we have this little asterisk here where Kyle McCord started against Akron to give C.J. Stroud some much-needed rest after getting banged up to start the season. But I even think that we could probably say this for Kyle McCord, who has said and done all the right things since joining Ohio State and backing up C.J. Stroud. He understands the role. Something happens to C.J., he's the first dude that's going to get a call. Add to that Justin Fields coming from Georgia where he was being treated something like Cam Newton, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? But he wasn't being developed and he wasn't given the opportunity to really go get the job from Jake Fromm, which means that we probably could have seen Kirby Smart do with Justin Fields what Dabo Swinney did with Trevor Lawrence, and we might have had Trevor Lawrence versus Justin Fields not once but twice, right? And we were robbed of that because, well, Georgia's Georgia. He transfers to Ohio State, changes the way that we do the NCAA transfer, changes the way that we do the waiver, and really brings in the portal. Also, he could be the starter for the Chicago Bears. Outstanding talent. You guys know how I feel about one Justin Fields. C.J. Stroud, right? He's the dude. He's a Heisman finalist in his first season as the starter. And then we can get into the guys that he's recruited. You know, Quinn Ewers. We can go with Devin Brown coming out of Draper, who's following up Jackson Dart, who's following up Zach Wilson. It's kind of like a little quarterback cradle down there in Corner Canyon High, Draper, Utah. Got that right. Right on. And then we get add to that Jack Miller, who transferred to Florida and was so good that another guy from Florida, we'll talk about a little bit later in the show, decided to transfer himself. But back to Dylan Raiola. Yes, this is the son of former Detroit Lions center and, more importantly, Nebraska center, Dominic Raiola. Dominic Raiola, you might remember, is not just an All-American at Nebraska. He is the first inaugural winner of the Remington Award, which is given to the nation's top center. This is pedigree like you read about. Add to that, Dylan's sister, Taylor, playing volleyball at Texas Christian. His little brother is an outstanding baseball player. Like, it's all over the map with this. And the way that Dominic has raised these kids and the way that he talks about them, I think as a parent, you can learn a lot from just what he has been able to do with them. But I would be remiss if I did not mention the Raiolas gave Nebraska every opportunity. They went down there for the spring game. They understand what Dominic means to the program there. Dylan got to see his daddy's number 54 hung up at Memorial Stadium. They got the whole deal. I understand that Nebraska fans find to feel some kind of way about this. I would add to this, it's 2024, anything can happen, but it feels like anybody that pledges to Ohio State usually sticks with Ohio State. But back to what Dominic has done with these kids, in particular Dylan. I love this quote that he gave to the Purcell Register. Dominic took no chances, really, with his kid's character. Even if their talent is hereditary, he did not expect their character to be hereditary. This is the quote. Every day in our house, we start our daily devotional. We start with, are your grades in line? Are you being a good son, a good brother? Are you doing the little things like emptying the dishwater? If you're not doing all that type of stuff, all this football stuff is pointless. But if you are being a good son, good brother, then everything else in your life is going to line up. That's how you draw it up, right? And I got to tip a cap to all the football dads out there with prodigious talents, because it's real hard to keep your kids level-headed and to really try to give them the full experience that they should enjoy as teenagers with all this going on around them. Sounds like the Raiolas are doing that and more. Now, Dylan's 6'3", 220 pounds, and he's just a rising junior. He transferred from Burleson, Texas, right, where I believe they are the Elks, playing for John Kitna there. As a sophomore, he threw for over 3,300 yards with 42 touchdowns, just 5 interceptions. That's wild, right? He's since transferred to Chandler in Arizona. His family lives in Scottsdale. But Kitna gave a really great quote to Steve Wiltfong at 247. Goes like this. There's not a throw he can't make. He understands coverages and where the weak spots are in coverage. He knows protection. He knows how to set up the run game to the right spot. He's going to be a 4'6" kid at the end of it and be someone that can hurt you running with his legs. Just as incredible is he as a deep ball thrower. That's one of the things that really separates him. He can do it from a phone booth and get the ball up in the air quickly. His improvisation skills are something a coach, you can't really teach that. He can improvise like crazy and make plays. For Kitna to say all of this, also with Jalen Kitna having been the starter before Dylan was the starter at Burleson, it means the world to evaluators, because Kitna played the game at a high level in the NFL and has since become one of the better high school football coaches in the state of Texas. I'd also add in here that being able to go from Nebraska to Columbus, and as the legacy of not just a Nebraska player, but one of the great all-times of Nebraska football, still have the gumption to commit to Ohio State in May. Hey, man, I'm with that. And I really believe that this is going to be an outstanding player. I'm not going so far as to say the best to ever do it, because even for me, who is fond of a hot take, it's not going to put that on his shoulders. I will say, though, there is a pedigree here, and there is a legacy that you have to live up to now that you are an Ohio State commit at quarterback, which is to say, if you sign with Ryan Day, you are expected to be good, not just at Ohio State, but wherever it is you choose to go. Because again, even Joe Burrow turned into the dude he turned into 2019 with LSU, okay? He was there when Ryan Day got there. Justin Fields, same way. Dwayne Haskins, same way. We can keep going with this. I expect Jack Miller to be good. I expect Quinn Ewers to be great. That's what you're getting when you decide you want to commit to Ohio State. You're going to get those expectations. Sounds like Dylan Raiola is in an outstanding position to do and be just that. Thanks for watching this video. And remember, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any other videos on the #1 ranked show YouTube channel.